It's the run to the line. Workman's off the track. He's got all 4 Michelins over the white line. He's defending.
Everything interesting happens off the racing line.
All right, welcome back to Off the Racing Line. I am your host, Carlos Espitia. With me, as always, it is Mike Moore. How are you?
I'm good, bud. How are you?
Doing all right.
Fall is upon us.
Yes.
To brisk like 84.
I know.
Personal best season is coming.
Beautiful.
We're all excited.
Hey, we just crossed the mark of 800 subscribers on YouTube.
Nice. It was like 500 the last time, so we had quite the week.
It's picking up.
Fantastic.
I think we are on trajectory for crossing 1,000 before the end of the year. So that is quite the milestone for us.
I didn't know if we had a goal, but my guess is it would have been less than 1,000. So pat on the back.
Yeah.
Good job,
absolutely. All right, let's jump right into it. We got a lot to cover. Our guest today is a warrior, a fellow UF Gator, an instructor, attorney, and a racer. We have a lot to get into. My friend Justin Levine is here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you don't have less subscribers after this episode.
You think?
I hope you don't.
I hope we don't either.
I hope I don't drive them away.
All right, we're going to get into it. Let's start at the beginning. I want to talk about combat to car culture. We talked a little bit about your story on the phone, but I want to get into your years in the Army. You were a paratrooper. You did some time in Afghanistan. What did combat teach you, coming out, going to school, and maybe into racing?
I was that quintessential example of going in a boy and coming out a man. I was a little bit lost, going nowhere fast before the military. So I joined when I was 18, right around 9/11. When I was in basic training, we actually invaded Iraq while I was in basic training. And that was a pretty wild time being, brand new into that whole culture and some pretty big stuff happening around the world while we were just getting geared up in basic training. It was, it gave me a lot of motivation. It gave me the core work ethic and the core ideals that I still live by absolutely to this day. Integrity, honor, all that stuff's still very, very important to me today. And it helps me quite a bit in the legal industry. And it's actually making being a lawyer very tough because people push the boundaries of ethics in law quite a bit and quite frequently. And
the soldier in you wants to come out.
Yeah, I just want to do the right thing, and I pride myself on respect from other people, and so I'm willing to kind of bend the line, and I generally feel that reciprocal behavior from the other side should be there, and it regularly is not.
Right.
So anyway, no, the military, I say all the time, was the best decision of my life. It still is. I was really headed nowhere. When I was 18, I was maybe a mediocre student in high school. And so I got into the military. The military is very good for people like me, where I needed guidance because there was something new that I could achieve within some short amount of time. Within 2 months, I could achieve, this certain medal, or I could get a little bit of a promotion, or I could get a bit of a pay bump, or I could get a choice to, go somewhere and deploy, or I could, there's always something right in the immediate grasp that I could work towards. And so it gave someone like me who was a little bit lost and a little bit unguided, just a whole lot of structure.
It's interesting. I think your story sounds a lot like mine. I came out of high school. I worked a little bit, and I realized I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't the smartest, kid in school. And I figured, hey, maybe the Marines, could use somebody like me. And I wanted to be part of something bigger. You mentioned that you were in boot camp when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
I was...
No, boot camp when we invaded Iraq.
Right. Okay.
2003.
I had just come out of the Marine Corps when 9/11 happened. I was at UF, and I remember I had started a veterans fraternity, Omega Delta Sigma, at UF.
Yep.
I remember it was shortly after that. Halloween was going on. We had a big party, and the fraternity was just all veterans. And we had, the American flag outside, and we had the Marine Corps flag outside, and we had this one guy come up, just a regular college student. We had a party, it's a Halloween party. He came up and he didn't recognize the Marine Corps flag that was hanging. So he grabbed it because he wanted to see it, but everybody was so tense that as soon as he did that, I had one of my buddies, Marine Corps buddy, grabbed him by the throat. What the fuck are you doing? I was like, whoa, he just wanted to look at it. You know?
No disrespect,
The guy like turned white. He's like, whoa,
Right.
what is happening?
Came to the wrong party.
Yes.
I had some of those experiences too at UF. Yeah, it was a struggle to acclimate back into society.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah, it took me years.
Yeah.
And I've actually got a story about that. If you want me to jump in or
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll so it was quite a struggle. So I came back. I left a deployment. I left Afghanistan in the middle, and I left a team over there. And they were all super encouraging. They were like, "You're the guy that's going to go to college. Go."
Yeah.
You know, it's all right. And anyway, so I got home, and I was working. So I was living with my mom. I was working at AT&T doing not like a store. I was working in like an office building doing data entry, and I was going to school at night at FAU for just one semester, and I was just really struggling to acclimate back into society. I'll just tell you because we're on here. So there were little cues that would trigger me like crazy. And back then, the Hummer H2 was like the big cool thing.
Yeah, that would trigger you?
I would lose my mind because it was just, you come back from a place like Bagram or, wherever you are.
Yeah.
And you see these people just making something out of nothing, and they are living off nothing, and they are just, they're inherently good people over there.
Yeah.
Just trying to make their way in an awful, awful world. And then you come back and, I'm in Boca, going to
First world problems.
Yeah, and you see these people driving around in Hummer H2s. And another thing that really drove me crazy was the green straws from Starbucks. I don't know why, but it just signaled excess and gluttonous consumption.
Yeah.
And there was just all kinds of stuff. And so I really struggled. And all that followed me when I went to UF. I went to UF so my mom convinced me to go to UF. After I kind of had a breakdown, and I just said, I don't belong here anymore.
Yeah.
I need to be back overseas. I don't have to be back with the team and the guys I was with, but I need to be back somewhere. And so I was like looking for avenues back in, whether it was through Blackwater or Triple Canopy or getting back into the military, and I was just really struggling. And so my mom convinced me to apply to UF and, see what happened.
Yeah.
And because I was doing well at UF, which was the first time ever I had ever been a good student.
You actually got into UF?
So I applied, yeah. And I was simultaneously still looking for ways to get back over to Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever I could get. And anyway, so I ended up getting into UF somehow before anything else happened to get back overseas. And so I went, and so
that's really cool.
I packed up a U-Haul, and yeah, she brought me up to UF, and so I was there, and it was still a struggle. I mean, my problems certainly were not good. So when I got to UF, I was just getting into issues with kids, and I was getting into problems with cops there. And it wasn't helpful that I got a job at a gun store at UF. So it just, it was like my whole world was just the military. It's all I had.
Yes.
And,
but you develop your personality around that, like, especially at a young age, we go in as boys, come out as men.
Yeah.
And we become that. We are known for that, right? So you come out and you're like, I am an Army paratrooper. I am this. I came out, I was a Marine. I am a Marine. I didn't know anything else other than that. So I think we all go through, much like what you went through, where it was very hard for us to, acclimate
back.
Yeah. That's why I started the fraternity. I'm like, I can't get along with any of these kids. So I'm going to raise my flag and see who comes. And then a lot of other people, a lot of other veterans, they're like, hey, I'm
I'm sure that resonated with people, right? You're not the only two people on the planet to sort of have that reacclimation problem. So that was a great idea.
Yeah.
So I had a similar experience actually. So I got back, and I thankfully somehow some veteran guys figured out that I was there, and they reached out to me, and so we became friends, and they were there for the same reasons I was. They were older than everybody else. They were veterans right out of the military, and they were there to get in, get good grades, and get out. Yeah. And that was it. I didn't care about a social life. I had no interest in friends. I just wanted to get in, prove myself that I could be a good student and get out. And so what I did was I completely buried myself in school and in veterans outreach work. And I just kept myself, because I was getting into fights and altercations and just issues and problems and you know, I knew that I felt that I was trying to change the world. You know, like I had a big problem with people littering. That was another trigger.
Yeah.
I would see somebody littering. It would, you know, I would stop my car in the middle of the highway and get out and, you know, start harassing them because they threw a cigarette butt out of the window. And that, I mean, that was on me. That was my own, you know, I think my head was in the right place, but obviously execution was not appropriate.
Poor judgment.
Right. So, you know, when I realized that, then when I realized I had this behavior, but I couldn't figure out a way around it, I tripled up on classes and I got involved in veterans outreach. And so if you go to UF now, and you go to the Rights Union, there's a huge veterans memorial and you know, there's a big fountain in the Rights Union, pond, and there's a big veterans memorial there, and there's a plaque there. My name's on it. And
no kidding.
Yeah. So my group was responsible, and I think the group that we had, it was called the Collegiate Veteran Society, and I think that was a direct spin-off from the fraternity that you're talking about. The fraternity wasn't a big deal when I was there around 08, 09. But there was that same mentality where guys just needed something else to keep themselves busy to stay out of issues.
No, I think we had such a great impact on, you know, the guys that joined. I think at one point we had close to 100 members at UF, and we would do things to keep us busy. Like we would have a team to play against other collegiate groups. Softball was one of those that we would go out there and we'd go shooting once in a while. It kept us out of trouble, basically.
Yeah, we helped with parades with the VFW.
We did that too, yeah.
Yeah, we did that stuff, and we set up like scholarships that are still scholarships today. So we raised a bunch of money and got them invested, and then the dividends pay out every year, every 6 months, and those dividends are enough to, at least they were, you know, 20 years ago, to send somebody through like a semester of college or whatever. So, it was good work, and it helped me. It took me about 6-7 years it took me about 6-7 years to just be tired of being angry all the time. Yeah. And something finally snapped in law school. And I think I was 2-3 years into law school. I was still like this, like, you know, first year law school and part of the second year law school. And something finally snapped, and I can't go around being angry and pissed off and you know, fighting everybody for throwing cigarette butts out of their window every 3 days. So I just became a little bit more reserved, and so here we are today.
So let's transition from your angry, you know, post army, you know, sense, and talk to me about the Nissan 350Z that you bought, and subsequently kind of you got into car meets and that culture, and, you know, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so
that was the start of like you learning about track days.
Yeah, 100%. So my dad's a car guy, but my dad, he's not a wrencher. No. And so I just never got that gene. And even today, I wish I did. It just sounds so like therapeutic, I guess, to sit in a garage listening to some Bob Marley with a good beer, wrenching out. Like that's how I have it in my head, and I've tried that so many times. And you know, within 30 minutes, I'm throwing wrenches.
Right? Yes. That sounds like a great image, but the reality is that you're bleeding, your back hurts.
I know my zone now. I'm not a wrencher.
Yes.
So anyway,
I've been in the receiving end of a 30-minute job. 30-minute job turned into, you know, a 2-day. You know, what have I done? Yes.
Yeah, same. So, anyway, you know, I come out of the military for the first time ever. I've got some cash in my pocket. And like everyone who gets out of the military, I piss it all away in a car. And, so I bought it was a newish, but a used car. I think it had 7,000 or 8,000 miles on it. And it was a 2007 Nissan 350Z. And, that car was everything to me. It was everything. Mm-hmm. So there weren't a lot of people in Gainesville that I was too friendly with just because of what we talked about. So I became friends with a bunch of people over in Tampa. And so every other weekend, I was making the drive over to Tampa, and there was a big Z crowd over there. And I'm still pretty friendly with some of them. So I'd go over to Tampa, and we'd go to the car shows and car meets and kind of do the car thing over there. And so, yeah, that Z was everything. And I used to go out, I would wash and wax that car at least once a week. And I would just go out, you know, after classes, I'd come outside, and I'd put on some Bob Marley, reggae, and just have some beers, and I'd be outside 4 or 5 hours with that thing, just making it perfect. It was truly everything.
A few things started rubbing you the wrong way in terms of car meets.
Yeah,
you talked to me a little bit about that. Something about your wheels, the antenna.
So
what happened?
So you know, so I was 25, 26 when I was at UF, and I was, I guess I was a man at that point, and I wasn't living off my parents. My parents weren't giving me any kind of funding because I'd already had a career. There was no reason for them to do it. So I was funding my whole life on my own. My my schooling, everything was being funded by myself. And because I was tripled up on classes and engaged with the veteran stuff, I didn't have a lot of time to work. So I had some knick-knack jobs here and there. I had the job at the gun store, which I got fired from at some point. And anyway, so the point is there was a big shortage of funds.
Right.
And so I had this great, really nice car. And I got into the modding scene, but everything I could afford was off Craigslist or off the forum. They were all used, half-used, chipped parts. And so, you mentioned the wheels. There were some wheels that I really loved. They were a very expensive set of wheels, but I couldn't afford them. They were $4,500 a set. And so I bought the replica wheels out of China.
Right.
And they were the cast iron, whatever, but they looked just like me. So I used to go to these, these car meets, and all the car guys, with the Subarus and the flat brimmed hats, they'd point out right away that I've got the cheap shit.
Oh man.
So as a veteran, who's pretty proud of everything I've done, and I'm trying to make my way in this new academic world, which is very foreign to me. I'm getting poked at and made fun of for having the replica wheels and the cheap parts and the parts off Craigslist and eBay.
That didn't sit well with you.
Yeah, it started to rub me. I started to be like, oh, this sucks. And so that started to be kind of the landscape of going to these car meets. And then I had a car antenna that was an aftermarket car antenna, because the Nissans had the old extendable metal ones.
Right.
Those ones just, those weren't cool. So I had the little stubby rubber ones, and they kept getting stolen off these car meets during these car meets. And it's not like it was a big deal, but it would, piss you off.
Right.
They were $20, but still, it was really aggravating.
You don't go to car meets to get your your part vandalized,
no matter how small they are. So anyway, so it happened the third time.
Yeah,
and that was it. So I just, between getting poked at and made fun of for the replica parts, getting my antenna stolen multiple times, and then the other thing at these car meets was just a bunch of guys sitting around talking about how fast their cars are, how great their cars are, how strong their wheels are, which was the big thing about having the replica wheels.
Right.
I've got the good ones, so they're not going to break when you're at a track day, when you're in a race. You got the shitty ones.
Which they'll never see.
Right. Now that I see it, I'm like, I want the cheapest wheels I can find.
Right. Yeah.
But so you had all these guys standing around talking about racing and having the best parts for racing and doing the race, but nobody's doing it.
Right. None of them are actually going. Right. Yeah.
And so,
we had an episode just about that. We were comparing and contrasting the difference between car meets and the track culture.
Yep.
Very different.
And so the time the third antenna got stolen, I was like, this is it. I'm done.
I'm surprised you didn't at some point in time put Gorilla Glue or something on it. So the first person that came up and started to unwind it.
Yeah, I guess.
In retrospect, that would have been a fantastic idea.
I guess in my head, I'm like, okay, one idiot did this, one asshole did it again. It's not going to happen. It's an antenna.
What are the chances, right?
Someone will go spend their $20 and go get it. It's not a big deal, but apparently I was wrong.
How did you learn about HPDE track days?
So I saved up my money back then. It took me months to save up, and I remember it was about $1,200. And I had to get dot floor fluid. I needed to get a helmet, and I needed to get a weekend at the racetrack.
Right.
And I think all of that together was about $1,200. And I think maybe I needed new pads on the Z2, because I knew the pads. I probably had OEM pads on it. So all of that was $1,200.
But how did you learn about track days?
I don't remember. I just don't remember.
Somebody just talked to you about it and you're like, I want to do that.
I don't remember. I really have no recollection. But I just
certainly wasn't anybody that was at one of the car things that was stealing your antenna, because they have no idea what they're doing.
No, no, agreed. And it was completely organic. So I was kind of a pioneer. Obviously, I was on a pioneer for HPDE stuff, but I knew nobody at that time that did it. No,
right.
I did all the research. I figured it all out on my own. I was the guy who, and YouTube wasn't even all that big, so there wasn't 100 videos out there like, oh, this is your first track day.
And it's relatively new at that time, around 2007, you said?
Yeah.
It's still relatively in its infancy.
Yeah, 08, I think, maybe was the first. So anyway, I don't remember how I figured it out, and I don't even remember the group. I don't remember if it was, I think it might have been Hooked on Driving, but I just don't remember.
At PBIR, right?
It was at PBIR.
Okay.
And my first instructor was such a great guy. I don't remember his name, but I remember his car. He had this badass Outlaw 993 with a big wing on it. And and now listen, I don't know if he was good. He was the best driver I'd ever met back then.
Yeah.
To me. But now looking back, I don't know if he was great or not.
Right, and that is a great secret of being the chief instructor for FARA, right? If somebody's coming out for the first time, we put them with somebody that may have never instructed before, because if you're out there for your first time, you have absolutely no idea if what they're telling you is right or wrong, right? They're just
he has the qualifications,
correct,
just new to instructing.
Yes.
Right. And they may be new at the track.
Right. Right.
So anyway, I went out with him, and that was it. I was hooked.
Yeah.
And I think I've been to, that was, 17 years ago?
Yeah.
I think I've been to 2 or 3 car shows since. I was hooked. And I have put...
You found your new love.
It's completely in my blood. There's been times in my life in the last 15, 17 years where I couldn't race, my career is getting off the ground. I had to get out of the car and really just focus on work. And I was just jonesing for it. And it becomes a drug.
So that brings me to my next point, my next question.
Good.
Yes, drugs, addiction. How were you funding these track days while going through school?
So student loans.
Want to drive on a real racetrack but don't have a car? Velocity Track Experience offers track-ready car rentals for HPDE and racing. Whether you're flying in from out of state, out of the country, or you want full track support without worrying about prep, maintenance, or transport, this is your arrive and drive solution. From an agile Mazda MX-5 to a fully prepped BMW race car, Velocity provides everything you need to hit the track with confidence, including expert support and optional coaching. Just book your favorite track car, show up, and drive. Go to velocitytrackexperience.com and start your track adventure today.
I hope the Department of Education is not listening. I'm paying them off this year. It'll be done. This is
And VA benefits.
And VA benefits.
Listen, just before you tell your story, I did some pretty stupid stuff with my VA loans, my VA benefits. I bought a motorcycle, when I was at UF. I was like, all my buddies had motorcycles. And I'm like, well, there's a couple thousand sitting here from VA benefits. I'm like, I'm going to use that.
How did that end?
Yeah, not
right.
I almost killed myself.
Yes, but
yeah.
So that was maybe the second best decision of my life. I have decided to stay off bikes.
Yes.
And I was very, very close to buying one point in the military. I had this love for the R6s, R1s, and I had never ridden a bike before. And there was a time where I was in the dealership with $8,000 in my hand.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I better sleep on this.
Yeah.
It was
good call.
Really close.
Good call.
It was a good call.
I bought a CBR, I think it was the Honda.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a 600.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I thought I was the man in that thing.
Yeah. So I was in.
So you're using VA benefits and student loans to fund this new addiction.
So the tracking was sporadic at UF because there wasn't a track around, and it was still very new to me.
The firm wasn't around at that time, right?
No, firm did not exist. I still have never driven there, by the way.
So it was Sebring Homesteads, or PBIR.
Yeah, and PBIR. Right. So I did a few events with the money I could scrounge up. And I started, so I realized at one point that, I think I had done 4 or 5 or 6 events, and I was like, okay, this is like, I'm hooked. This is legit. I'm going to be doing this forever. And so it's like, before I keep going on this, let me figure out the right way to go about it. So I did some more research, and I found Skip Barber. I'd never heard of Skip Barber before.
Uh-huh.
So I looked into it, and their 3-day course was like $6,000 or something. So I called up the lady, and I'm like, hi, I'm a veteran. I'm poor. I love what you guys do. Can you cut me a break? And she was super nice. So I negotiated my way in, and she cut like $2,000 or something off.
Nice.
That might have been their standard thing. Yeah. Where they just give everybody huge discount. I don't know, but I felt great. So I was like, okay. So I went to my dad, and I was like, can I borrow some money? Like, I'm just this car stuff. I'm hooked.
Yeah.
And so my dad lent me the money. And so I spent the money on Skip Barber. So I came back home. So my hometown's Jupiter, Florida. So I came back home to Palm Beach Gardens and PBIR. And so I went to Skip Barber's 3-day event, and it was awesome. And Skip Barber, the thing I liked about Skip Barber, it fit for me. I can see where people go there and they actually learn more at like an HPDE. I can see that. Right. Skip Barber really fit for me because I'm a pretty analytical guy, and it was a lot of classroom. It was a lot of like, they break down the physics and the engineering of why things are happening with the coefficient of drag and grip. And they talk about the analytics of stuff. And that really resonated with me. And I don't instruct all that much anymore, but when I do, I talk to my students about kind of the formula of velocity plus steering input, equals grip level.
Right.
And how for years that formula used to flash through my mind as I'm driving, and it would help me with kind of steering inputs and velocity, speed and all that stuff. So Skippy was a really good thing. I also met a very, very dear friend. I mean, this was almost 20 years ago, and I met a very, very dear friend that I'm still very, very close with today. So that was another benefit there. But anyway, so my dad lent me the money for Skip Barber. I ended up paying him back. And so after that, I'm like, okay, I've got, basically an SCCA license now, because if you go to Skip school, you get the SCCA license. So I'm like, I'm a race car driver. So I got a license, and I still had no idea what I was doing. I'd only had, a few events under my belt. But so I'm like, I got to start doing this as much as possible. The problem is money. But I did know that for instructors, because I'd had an instructor up until that point, and I did know that for instructors, they get free seat time.
Free track time, yeah.
Right. So I was like, I got to become an instructor, and I got to become an instructor as fast as possible so I can start saving the money, because that was one of the biggest expenses for me, was actually signing up.
Yeah.
I wasn't on slicks back then, so I was getting, tons of miles out of street tires, and so tires were not that big. Now tires are the biggest expense.
Sure.
So anyway, so I started, what I would do is I would get, you're going to school, and most of my heavy tracking started in law school. And so you get, a tranche of money for the fall semester, you get a tranche of money for spring, and a tranche of money for summer. So you get these 3 tranches of student loans, VA benefits, whatever it is. And so I'd put my tuition aside, I'd pay my bills on the school, I'd put my living aside, and then whatever I had left, that all went into the car. It all went into events, tires, gas, mechanics, all that stuff. And I was spending back then some pretty significant money for what I felt was for what I thought, but
not a cheap hobby,
right? And so
you became an instructor. You started getting free track time.
So not yet. So I started putting everything I had into these track days, and the funding I would get per semester would give me about 2.5 months of track days, and so I'd run out for the second 2 or 3 months. But what I was doing was, because Homestead was my home track, I was still going every other weekend, and I would still go even if I wasn't driving. And the idea was that I kept seeing the same people over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so they would keep seeing Justin at the track. And so basically the idea was that when it came time to start reaching out to people to become an instructor, even though I might have only been driving for 2 months out of those 5, they would.
Right, they're like, oh yeah, Justin, yeah, I already
all the time.
I already thought he was an instructor. He's here, so
that was exactly the idea. The FaceTime really worked out for me, and so they basically elevated me up to being an instructor without having to go to any kind of instructor school or really truly being licensed. And so I was just once it became free to be at the track, I was there every weekend. And I was just there all the time. And I was on street tires, so it wasn't a huge deal. And
now, were you driving from Gainesville while you're going to school all the way to Homestead in the weekend?
I went to law school in Miami. So in Miami, right, so doing that. But
so that worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. So, I had Homestead right there. But I was driving to Homestead, I was driving to Sebring, I was doing Daytona. There were multiple weekends where I was doing HPDEs up at Road Atlanta. So I'd get in the Z, I'd pack the Z up, and I'd have my Michelin Pilot Sports on, and I would drive all the through the night. I'd go to class and knock out whatever I needed to do on Friday, head up to Atlanta. I'd track all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and drive through the night, come back, and I'd be back in class Monday morning.
You got bid hard.
What do you mean?
That's some serious dedication that you just you went in
the track bug. You got bid hard.
It did. Yeah, bid. Okay, yeah.
Bid, yeah.
And it was, so I was there as much as I could afford to be there.
I think it's still a lot more healthy, getting that sort of addiction or hobby for people like us that need some sort of outlet. I think a lot of the military guys coming out, they choose stuff that's destructive.
The track guys are also a great community. So yeah, one part of it is the adrenaline, without question. And the adrenaline aspect that I like about tracking is that when you're tracking, your adrenaline is at the most extreme elevated levels for an hour on end. It's not like football where, your adrenaline spikes for 10, 15 seconds, but then it goes down and then everyone recuperates and takes a breath. I mean, when you get out of the car, you should be exhausted.
Yep.
And that's that's the idea. That's the good feeling of accomplishment. But the other real good component that I found in the track stuff is a community. And I told you I'm an analytical guy. I think all this stuff through far too much than I probably should. But the reason, in my opinion, that the community is so good is because everybody there is financially stable.
Right.
And because it's such an expensive hobby, like boats and like horses, jets, it tends to weed out the people who are idiots. They can't keep the car. They can come out for a track day or 2 or 3, but you can't sustain keeping a car on the track for years on end.
Yeah.
Unless you're financially independent.
Or said idiots weed themselves out by their driving and they crash the car, and that's the end of that story.
Let's be real. There's rich idiots too, and they're out there. But generally, we can leave gear out overnight and we don't have to be worried about it. Or, it's always such a good feeling. I get up to Sebring or Atlanta, wherever I am, and I see the same guys that I see in Miami or Daytona or
it's like a family.
Yeah, it is. And you see the same guys, and, people go out to dinner and everybody's wrestling over the check. And, if one guy gets the check, everyone else is like, I got you drinks next time. Or, I don't know, it's a good feeling. And I just feel like you don't get that in a lot of, sports bars, football, you don't get that in the same kind of community. So between the adrenaline and the community, that's what has really just kept me back and coming back.
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. Let's transition over to, okay, you're now an instructor. What did being an instructor teach you?
I actually really enjoyed being an instructor. I never got the unnervous feeling about being, passenger right side. There was one. There was 2.
Okay, so that was actually my next question.
Okay,
is if you
nervous,
if you, not if you're nervous, if you have an instructor war story. It used to be one of our favorite segments, but we ran dry. But it sounds like you have a story.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch. Because of my money issue. I mean, keep in mind, I was in school the whole time, and then I got into my first job, but I had no money then either.
Right.
So I was an instructor for years. 6-7 years. I was like a dedicated instructor all the time. So I've definitely got some stories. The one that comes to mind the most. A gentleman at Sebring came out with an X6M. They had just hit the market.
Okay.
And it was in that beautiful esoteric blue.
It's an SUV.
Yeah.
The ideal track weapon.
Jeremy Clarkson said it was the stupidest car on the market, on the planet at the time.
Yeah.
So this guy, he had it supercharged, or he had the motor all souped up, stock brakes, stock suspension, stock everything else.
Yeah.
So the guy had a bajillion horsepower in this thing. It's lifted, not lifted, but it was...
And no way to stop it.
No way to stop it.
Or turn it.
Huge thing up off the ground. It's got this, to us now, this prehistoric transmission. And it was the scariest thing to be in the right side with a 3-point safety belt. And I just remember, I mean, one of the things, there's a number of times that I remember, but one of the things that I remember is coming out of turn 7 at Sebring, so you're kind of in those, the
hairpin.
8 and 9. So the couple of corners right after 8 and 9, I guess it's probably 9. It's that long sweep
back to the left.
Yeah. It's that sweeping left coming into 10, which is a real hard braking zone. So notwithstanding the point that we had no brakes, on corner 9, it's that long sweeping left. So you got the car loaded up to the right.
Yeah.
He's full throttle. And then in the middle of it, the car would just shift. And so you've got this thing, this lifted SUV,
6,000 pounds,
6,000 pounds, swaying to the right because you're full throttle in a left-handed sweeper, and then in the middle of that it would shift, and the whole car would just, the weight transfer would just shift from forward to back, and the whole thing would just. Obviously, it just didn't like it. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And so this car was just between no brakes, us barely being able to stop for 10 and 17 and 7 and everything else. It was awful. And I kept, telling him he needed to come in, and he refused to come in.
Really?
And, so they're guy, and I felt bad because these things were expensive. And, back then I was a young law student or very young lawyer. I didn't have a lot of money. So to me, these things were big money. These track weekends were very expensive. They were big investments.
Sure.
And so I felt really bad trying to cut him short. But I also, I truly was just completely afraid. I mean, it was such a scary thing for me. So
did he lose the brakes at one point, or was it just gradual?
I don't remember.
I was possibly fathom that they would have lasted an entire day.
Yeah, I don't remember. It
was just that bad. You wanted it.
The whole, everything, after about the third or fourth session, I no longer was focused at all about instructing him, and I was just spending the entire time praying I was going to make that. Seriously, I was just completely afraid for my life. It was, I've instructed in Shelby Cobra, like the actual cars, and I was less afraid in those cars than I was in this freaking X6M.
Imagine that.
Anyway.
You also race with FARA
I do.
and with NASA.
I do.
Can you tell us a little bit of the differences between the two organizations? What you like from both?
Yeah. Very different organizations, both awesome, both really, really good. I wouldn't be here where I was from a racing perspective without NASA.
Well, let's back up real quick because we talked about the 350Z.
Yeah.
That was your track car for a long time.
Yeah.
And then what was your next track car after that? Or what did you start racing with?
I got into an E46 M3 that I bought. That I bought some Scrub Hoosiers, some Scrub Hoosier slicks off Twatty, and I think I prod because I didn't know about slicks at that point.
Yeah,
and so I bought them for some price. I don't remember, and I think I probably put 30 heat cycles on them. I mean, I just had no idea.
Yeah.
And
you were treating them like street tires.
Yeah, I had no idea. And again, I mean, you have to remember, I had no one to teach me. It was all very foreign to me, and there was no one that I did this with. Over the years, I picked up some very close friends, and they're all my best friends today, and we're very, very close. But back then it was before their time, so this whole thing was just me on my own, and YouTube wasn't a huge thing back then. So so I got into an E46 M3, and that is where, so I'm a big BMW guy, and I think BMW is really kind of where the car stuff sits in my heart. I think that's where it started.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so that car was a big deal to me. So anyway, so I popped around from different groups, but I found my home at NASA, and so I started doing the HPDE stuff at NASA. I made it up through their HPDE ranks, and NASA was great back then. Back then it was awesome. We used to have Mad Motorsports, and it was a big E30 crowd, and just a big BMW and kind of a homegrown grassroots crowd.
Right.
And that was awesome. I remember the after Saturday nights. I mean, now it's like the pits are quiet and Saturday nights come and everyone kind of heads back to the hotel, and I do too because I'm an old guy. But back then, they used to have the guys with the rigs, and they'd have TVs mounted on the side, and they'd order a fight. And they'd come out. We'd have pig roasts and barbecues out in the pits and fights, and everyone's exhausted and sweaty, and it was just a great time. And NASA was just really, really good to me. And so I got my racing license in NASA, and I raced with them for a bit, so I just started slowly transitioning to FARA. So I certainly I've done HPDs with FARA, before. Mm-hmm. Before the new guys owned it, back with Tico Almeida, back when he owned it, and I was actually instructed with them years back, 10 so years ago, and but so I started transitioning slowly over to FARA when I started finally to make some money in my career, and the career really started to take off and provide some dividends, and so recently I had another E46. I've had numerous E46s throughout the years.
Which is still my favorite M3 of all time, the E46.
Without question.
I love that car.
Yeah, me too. And it's another bucket list car. I will have another one.
Me too.
The dream car got away. It was my last one. It was an Amola red, slick top.
Yeah.
I bought it fall line, did the initial build on it. And so it had really good bones as an HPDE car. And so I got it, and it was a beautiful Amola red, had 50-something thousand miles on it. And I sent it to Orbit Racing, who's a big Porsche shop, and they finished the build on it. And I sunk a ton of money into that car, and it was perfect. And I was very competitive at NASA. And so I started running jointly with NASA and FARA with that car. And I did that for a year and a half or so. And then there was an opportunity to move up into a Cup car. And so I was with Orbit, being the Porsche shop. Yeah. And they were pushing me into the Cup car. And my best friend had a 997 Cup. He still has it today. And so I had all this awful first world pressure.
Yes.
Of you got to move up into the Cup. So I took the dive, and now I have a 991 Cup. And that car just kind of, to me, just fits a little bit better with FARA. And
you see some crazy cars with FARA as far as race cars go.
And, it's another thing. FARA, there's some really cool cars.
Yes,
there just are, and
it's a car show built into the race scene.
It is. It's like if Cars and Coffee just were race cars.
Yes,
and you get to walk in, and I mean, you see stuff that you don't. I mean, you see Pragas and what are the big cockpit ones? They make bikes, KTM. You see the KTM stuff, but you also see real, there's
The Aston Martin race car.
some
What's
stunning,
the other
you see
one?
the challenge cars. There's
The
Squadron.
McLaren race car.
Yeah, Manny with his,
Yes.
he's got this brand new, I think it's 2024. He bought a brand new, the Arturo race car. I mean,
Yeah.
that thing is just, I mean, he gets so much attention. Those doors come up,
Yeah.
on the grid walk.
Some crazy cars.
A ton of attention. So there's just cool stuff. And,
Which brings me to, you are currently in the lead for the GT1B championship.
we
For
are
20
in the lead.
for 2025.
I've got my crew chief, Lisa Maldonado, who has been here all year she's been managing the car, and it's been, I wouldn't be able to be here if she wasn't here. So I was doing a lot of work. I was doing all the racing on my own, and so in FARA, one of the big differences I think between FARA and NASA, there's a lot more money in FARA. There just is. There's people who have more money run with FARA, and so when you're racing in FARA, the guys there have teams. They've got spotters, they've got engineers, they've got. I don't have any of that, so this whole thing for me has been self-funded. So it's a really expensive endeavor, especially being in the car that I'm in now to do this on my own. And so I'm at a significant disadvantage if I'm by myself.
Sure.
Because I don't have access to radio or spotters. I don't have access to pit crews. I don't have, if the car goes wrong, I already admitted I'm not a wrencher. If something doesn't look right, I'm like, I don't know what to do.
I see a lot of those racers, they come off the track and they go right into, a little table, and they're reviewing data with their racing coach.
So when they go out the next race, they fix that problem. I don't have any of that. So Lisa has been not even just tremendous. She's been a necessity for me to be successful this year. And so we're in the lead right now for the GT1B class championship.
Very nice.
My favorite part about that story is it's yet another guest that has slowly migrated from a BMW to a Porsche. We need like one of those little counters, and every time one of our guests,
natural
we
progression.
should just flip the number. Oh, look, there's another one.
That's a mystery.
There's another one.
That's not a mystery. Like, we know, like, a BMW owner always wants to be a Porsche owner.
We will welcome you to the community with open arms.
It's gonna happen. I'll meet you and Justin soon.
We're gonna lose that. You and I have the two best sounding cars out there. I mean that seriously.
That straight pipe V8 is oof.
Yeah, and that great line.
Yeah,
your car's amazing.
Yep. All right, let's transition over to the long game success. A lot of people will look at you now, and really, like David Swati is another good example of this. They see what you're driving, and they're like, must be nice, right? Yeah. Imagine the 25-year-old Justin, coming off a deployment in the Army, and he sees you now, driving a Porsche Cup car. Oh, must be nice, right? They don't see the 18, 20 years of work and dedication and, suffrage that went into this, into being able to be where you're at now. Talk to me a little bit about that, because it's too easy for somebody just to say, well, it must be nice to be Justin, but there's a lot of struggle there. And that's part of your story while we're telling it right now. Yeah,
and hoopties. I drove a lot of crap cars. I was tracking in between dedicated track cars. I had a 2007, I think, Volkswagen Rabbit. It wasn't a GTI. It was the base model wind up windows version.
Beautiful.
So anyway, I had old E46 330s. It just, there's 20 years there of building this.
Yeah.
The Cup Car to me is the pinnacle of both my racing and my professional career.
Yeah. Makes sense.
My truly racing is just in my blood. It's in my DNA at this point, and I basically work, and my goals are to allow myself to have the ability to do this.
It had to be a very proud moment for you once you purchased that Cup Car.
I sit outside and eat dinner at a table looking at that car 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah.
I sit outside in my garage at a table.
Because you did that.
Yeah, and I stare at it. And there's been times where I'm like, maybe it'll make sense to keep the car in Miami. It makes more sense.
Yeah.
Or maybe, do this or do that. I'm like, no, I want the car at my garage when it's available.
A reminder.
Yeah, just because I like to go and look at it. It's absolutely something I am It's the material thing in my life I am most proud of.
And like you said, it's the pinnacle of all your work.
Of both my professional and my racing career.
Yeah.
You know, getting here racing wasn't easy too. You know, I didn't have the funds to have coaches the whole way up. I made a lot of bad habits and bad mistakes driving cars, and it's only through the years that I've slowly corrected stuff just by learning on my own that this thing doesn't work. You know, so yeah, the Cup Car is extremely special to me. It's something I'm very, very proud of. I do not take it for granted.
I bet.
And I was just texting with some buddies today. You know, it's Black Friday right now, so you know, some buddies are like, "Oh, you're getting new helmets for next year." And I said, no, I don't care about my head, but I just want to make sure I'm protected with the car.
Yeah.
And, you know, so yeah, it's a, you know, I take the car very seriously, and
I love your story, man, because it's
take it for granted.
Your story is, you know, like from humble beginnings in the motorsports field. I mean, you know, you did your time in the Army, you served in Afghanistan, you know, like you put your work in, you know, and then you put yourself through school, law school.
Yep.
Like there's a lot of kudos to you, man. And not just that, but also, you know, what you've been able to accomplish as a race car driver.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, man. Let me ask you, what did the Army teach you that helped you through school and maybe racing?
For sure. So racing, the Army made me who I am, and who I am has allowed me to be successful at my job, and my job has allowed me to go racing.
The trickle down effect.
Yeah. So there's no doubt about it. Especially racing at this level, this kind of car, you need money. You just do.
Yeah.
And
there is no cheap part on that car.
Really, you know, and I truly think, and I encourage, if there's any of the guys out that are running in any of these top few classes, I think I'm the poorest guy out there.
Yeah.
We're doing this on our own, and we're doing it. There's no sponsorship. There's no funding. This is all self-funded. And so a lot of the guys are out there running 4 or 5 sets of tires. I'm running 2.
Yeah.
So the Army gave me my core values. It made me who I am. And I think who I am has allowed me to be successful in the job. And that, like you said, is translated to racing.
Yeah. It's awesome, man. I think it shows the mindset behind, you know, being a warrior, staying in the fight, you know, staying committed to what it is that the task is at hand, right? Going through school, being a race car driver, you know, you stay in the fight until, you know, you accomplish the mission. And that's huge kudos to you for that, man. Hey, we're going to move over to, we're running out of time. As always, we're going to move over to my favorite segment, which is rapid fire questions. So I'm going to shoot some questions over to you, try to answer them as succinct as possible. We're going to try to get through these as quickly as possible. We got 13 minutes left.
All right. I'm a nervous lawyer, so I think through everything. So you might get through 1 or 2.
All right. If you want to pass, then I can give you a pass as well. Mike, a lot of these are, you know, for our attorney friend here. So
I don't have anything clever to say half the time anyway, so it's fine.
All right. Rapid fire questions. Are you ready, Justin?
No.
Here we go. Anyway, what was tougher to survive? Afghanistan or your first season racing on a college kid budget?
Oh, for sure, Afghanistan.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2, what humbles you faster? A Miata on your bumper or a judge calling you out in front of a packed courtroom?
Have Miata on my bumper.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That is very humbling, huh?
Right. No. I was laughing at the notion of it. No, the answer.
Oh, that hasn't happened.
No.
Well,
Kidding me?
Right.
Yeah. My bad.
Not since you moved from a BMW to a Porsche, obviously.
No.
Wait. That said, can I make Twatty and Orbit, close your ears for a moment. I really genuinely thought about running a Miata next year. I wouldn't say
Really?
a car, but I'm still thinking about it.
It's such a fun car.
I've never driven spec Miata, and I really want to.
Have you driven a Miata?
I've driven a Miata, but I've never raced in spec Miata.
These guys are crazy.
I know, and that is the most, other than maybe Champ Racing, or Chump now, I guess. That is the most pure form of racing.
Yes.
I think that's out there.
I would say other than karting, that Miata is just
Yeah, but I'm not going to get into karting. But so anyway, so spec Miata, it I don't think it's going to happen, but it may be on the radar for next year.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not just crossing your mind, like you're actually contemplating.
Really thinking about it.
Interesting.
Genuinely thinking about it.
All right, let's move on. Number 3, which stung more? Your first student loan payment or your first race car repair bill?
Student loan payment, for sure.
That's because they're apparently still going on, right?
So, yeah. I mean, do you want the story or do you want me to join?
No, we don't have time for a story.
All right, shut up.
So that one was painful.
Without
The first student bill.
The last one sucks. I love paying the car bills.
Right.
That was easy.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right, number 5. Who sends it harder? FARA racers, NASA racers, or 19-year-olds at a car meet trying to impress strangers?
Haven't been there. I can't answer that. It's you know what? I gotta say probably NASA. I think NASA.
Balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right.
Is it just a little bit more from a reckless standpoint or
competitive?
I think there's a little bit of that, but no, I think I mean, listen, in NASA, in FARA, you've got the Lambos and Ferraris and Astons, and
there's a little the cost of
the guys are a little bit more timid to throw.
Understandably so.
In NASA, my second big wreck, I went 3 wide into 7.
Yeah.
And guys are willing to do that with those kind of cars.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. What's one piece of advice you'd give a young soldier or broke college kid who dreams of racing one day?
Slow and steady. I think I have the same advice most other people have. Seat time is what wins the day. You don't need turbos and wings and exhaust. You need seat time, and just take your time.
I think my takeaway would be, if I may interrupt you, you're not going to go from being a college student to a cup car. There's a lot that happens in between there. And that's your story.
And the thing is, even if you do go from a college student to a cupper, even if you've got the parent funding or you hit it big, even if you're a Bitcoin millionaire and you do go into a cup car, that's a lot of cars.
You're not going to have the ability to actually pilot it. Right.
You need to learn a lot from.
So I've only had my cup car for about 2 years now. And when I first got in it, I mean, keep in mind, I've been driving for 16, 17 years before I got into it. And it took me some time to get used to that. It was a whole new animal.
That car is a handful.
It is a lot of car. It's a lot of car. And it's very different. Driving that car is very different than driving a street car that was built into a race car.
Yeah.
So even if you do have the funds, just slow and steady.
Yeah.
It'll come.
All right. Moving on. Number 7. What carried over more from the Army into racing? Courage, discipline, or controlled aggression?
I don't know that. Just on a quick answer, I don't know that any of those did.
Really?
It's the Army was so long ago. I got out in 2007. I was out of the military in 2007. So, it's 18 years now. I'm not really the Army guy anymore. I'm just going to be me. I just am who I am. And my
you have evolved.
Yeah, who I am is who I am. It just is what it is. So
thank you for ruining that question for me. Number 8.
I like you more and more every second that goes on.
Oh, that's good, man.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
All right. Last one for this segment. What's harder to control, a drifting cup car or your adrenaline in a firefight?
My guess is that the guy throwing the cigarette out the window on the interstate is probably tops both of them based on the earlier stories.
What's harder to control, adrenaline?
Yeah, adrenaline in a firefight or when your cup car is sliding.
It's weirdly similar because both things
can kill you.
Yeah, no, both things are things that you train for repeatedly, so that when you're in the middle of it, it's second
nature, right?
Yeah.
So it's just. Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me what's more scary, I mean, obviously, the answer is, but it just, your question was, what is easier to control?
Yeah.
The adrenaline.
Well, what's harder to control?
What's harder to control? The adrenaline on these two scenarios. They're both things that you just do instantaneously, I think.
Right. Okay.
So,
I just realized that I skipped a question, so here it goes. What was more stressful, your first jump from an airplane for you civilian types, or first race in a cup car?
I think the race in the cup car.
Yeah.
Yeah. The jumping wasn't, I was really.
Let's do this.
Yeah. The cup car. And it comes back to the money thing. It comes back to the, with the jumping, if I get hurt, it'll heal. If I, die.
I don't want to wreck this car.
I don't want to wreck this car.
It's fantastic that you were just like very casually, if I die, I die, but the cup car.
Yeah. We don't want to wreck that.
Dying, that's fine, but the cup car.
Yeah. All right, Justin, we're going to move over to the guest challenge. This is where you have a chance to challenge 2 of your friends to come on the Racing Line podcast, off the Racing Line podcast. So do you have 2 people in mind?
Should have given me this. Yeah, I need a little bit of thought before this.
I thought I had prepared you for this.
No, not at
No,
all.
I didn't give you a heads up.
No,
Okay.
I should have known. I've seen a lot of the episodes. So
Okay, so if you want to
so
look
I gotta
straight
challenge-
into your
well,
camera.
So I gotta wait. Okay, so I gotta look at that.
Yeah.
All right. So Lisa obviously comes to mind, right? She's new to motorsport.
Okay, your crew chief.
She's quickly coming up in the sport. So I would challenge her.
Okay.
Although and then she's someone else. And
Anybody else come to mind?
I mean, would it be someone that runs with FARA? I mean, you've got
No, anybody.
a lot of the guys that run with FARA.
Could be somebody that doesn't even, attend track days yet, but somebody that's interested. Could be an army buddy. It could be anything.
Yeah,
An attorney.
You know what? I'm gonna challenge George Stama. I think he'd be a great guest for you. He's a good guy. He's another 350Z guy, and he is a racer through and through. But more than a racer, he's someone who so he's as much as I'm not a wrencher.
Yeah.
He's not only is he a wrencher, but for every bolt he turns, he's got 37 spreadsheets on why the torque is this way, or every dampening system is this pounds, and so he'd be super interesting.
Okay, so Lisa and who was
George Stam, he's a buddy of mine.
All right, there you guys
He's a
have
big
it.
NASA guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'd love to have him. So there it is. The challenge has been laid down by Justin. If you guys are interested on coming on the show, Off the Racing Line podcast, simply go to offtheracinglineline.com, fill out the form, and let us know when you want to come in, and we will do our best to fit you in. I have some closing remarks for this show. This is the second time I'm doing this. So here we go. Justin's story reminds us that discipline and courage take different forms depending on the battlefield, the desert, the classroom, the courtroom, and the racetrack. Progress doesn't always look pretty, and it's seldom easy, but it always counts. Whatever your mission or goal is, keep moving forward. All right, until next time, remember, everything interesting happens off the racing line. See you guys next time.
Take off heights, keep off pace. Everything interesting happens off the racing line. I took the hard road, I've earned these stripes. The road from dreamer to driver ain't always straight. Kept my head down, fueled by faith. I lost some time, but found my name. Pressure made a diamond out of me. I've arrived, and I brought receipts. Wrote my truth between the scars and his peace. This ain't luck, I've earned this seat. Off the racing line, where my story begins.